Hi, welcome back to the Event House channel, your home for all things hospitality. I'm your host, Jill Goldfine. Today, you will get to see a conversation I recently had with Jaclyn Bernstein, who is the owner of Empire Force Events, which is a destination management company in New York City. Jaclyn's going to talk about some current trends that she has seen from clients, as well as a new pricing structure based on models that she has talked about with her DMC colleagues over the last year or so. So I hope you find that insightful. And let's get started. Hi, Jaclyn. Thank you so much for being my guest today. I wanted to open to share with our audience a little about your professional background in hospitality.
Sure. So I am the president owner of Empire Force Events, and we are New York City's longest independent and locally owned destination management company. So obviously, for those of you who know what DMCs are, we also are an event production company in that as well, and focusing on the destination management services. We service New York City, New York State, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and we have been fortunate with clients that love what we do here. As the song goes, if we can make it here, we can make it anywhere. So we have traveled all over the country and the world with clients that have had us do that. The company that I own, I actually worked at fresh from college. I then got immediately involved with the International Live Events Association. At the time, it was the International Special Events Society. So I went to that first organization meeting in New York with a resume in hand, met the owner of this company, and then worked here for a couple of years, and then bought it a couple of years later. So it's
That's
still
amazing.
my first job out of school. Yeah, I don't know if I'm doing this right or wrong, but I guess I have job security when you own the company, despite what we've gone through with everything else in this world. I love that you say that about hospitality, because it's not just events and meetings and destination management, but we're all in the hospitality profession. And just as a sidebar, in the height of the pandemic, when we were watching everything closing down and the government was giving money, and we saw the restaurants getting money, our entire industry was falling under the realm of hospitality. We weren't necessarily travel, we weren't the hotels, we're not the restaurants, but all of us were in the hospitality.
So tell me about diving into the company, about the kinds of events and clients that you work with. And I'm particularly interested in trends. What's new, the kinds of things clients are asking for in the last, I would say, year or so, mostly since things have basically reopened.
Sure. So our clientele are corporate, where the planner's planner. We do have some association clients. We've been fortunate to service the mayor's office here in New York City and some of the organizational, but we don't do any weddings or mitzvahs. If a corporate client has a favor, we can help them. Many times it's the same type of vendors, but that's the lane that we're in.
Corporate and personal are two completely different animals.
Not necessarily going to focus the first thing on what we're getting asked is a specific trend or a color or an element of an event. Want to take a step back from that. That it's very funny. A lot of clients are saying, can you actually service us? Do you have time? Do you have availability? Do you have the resources? And as a business owner, we never want to say no. We're in hospitality, right? So we always want to say yes. We'll figure it out. We can hire someone to come onto the team. We can have our vendor be more on our team as opposed to just a traditional hire the vendor. So it's very interesting when clients are asking that of us. And you know, we're an expeditious destination. People don't always plan coming here like they might to a desert island or somewhere that's a long haul. They'll call us up this week for something next week in New York. And our job and our responsibility is to be quick. And it could be as large or intimate as possible. So that's one of the first trends that we're finding a lot of. The next is, and I think it's a trend, and I know we're going to talk more about this, how we're pricing and how we're approaching their projects. But we're finding, and I'm sure everyone that's out there watching this, listening to this, is finding is that because we're all cooped up, and that we're getting to be live and together again. Maybe they didn't do the event in 22 because they weren't sure. They obviously didn't do it in, well, definitely not in the end of 20 and maybe even 21, that they're looking for ways that they can really engage. And if you all think back last year, when we started doing events again, you might have seen the shields up at the stations. They might not have done family style food because people were nervous about touching utensils. So there was a lot of, as we're emerging from the pandemic, but still holding on to some of the restrictions or hypersensitivity. And you know what?
Yes,
Some of them aren't so bad to have as we go forward a lot of
I
times,
agree.
and moving forward. However, now they are cool doing more family style or touchy feeling or feely things. And it's okay that you're going to be very close to people, whether it be in a team bonding experience or, sitting at a dining table. I mean, I remember when we did events where instead of putting 10 at the table, we were 4 to 6 at the table.
Yes.
And guess what? It was great for us. We got to design and decorate more tables, more staff. So it's just interesting how we've emerged from it. I think that we always all wanted experiences, even pre-pandemic, and now so more than ever. And we also are finding that the casualness that happened during the pandemic, the only time you would see someone wearing like a suit in the city, walking down the street is, unfortunately, they worked at a hotel or they had to be in a uniform, or God forbid, they worked at a funeral home. But no one was dressing like that anymore. Even the big financial guys and girls are not wearing full suits. So that is becoming a trend and something you're seeing at events, that it's okay that if you're wearing jeans and a boots and a blazer at your opening general session, no matter what level of type of company you are and what you did before. And that casualness is happening with the events that you do. It's not as rigid and formatted. And we're trying to expand that. I think a lot of people not going back into their offices and working, we hear about this in the news, they're not working in the office. Are they going to come to this meeting? What do we need to do to entice them to come there? So I think it's different for each client, but these conversations is what the trend has become.
Yes, I agree with that too. Everybody, of course, wants the attendant, like you build it and hope that they'll come. And they want to be enticed to come and motivated to get out of their sweatpants and leave there and get on a plane and away from the family and all those kinds of things, to make sure their time away is well spent and is valuable to them.
Sure. Or even if it's a local event, because as much as we have clients that travel into our destination, we also work with clients that are based here. And what's going to excite them? Is it going back to that venue that has always been a great standby, that has stood the test of time, survived the pandemic, and go back there and see it again? Or is it something new that just opened that they're curious about? Even myself, I used to go to an industry event practically every night, was out all the time, cocktailing all the time. And it just changed because there was so much of that not happening. It's taking time to rev up.
Tell me about, you mentioned pricing. Your services, of course, we're all familiar with the unfortunate supply chain issues. Does that affect you? Are you having challenges based on, from rooted in other ways? And so you're pricing your services perhaps differently, perhaps higher, perhaps not, or it varies. But then you have to relay that to your clients, and that it's always a challenge to talk about money and expenses. Always. And you don't want to knock someone over with a surprise. But how are you finding all of that?
So when we focus on pricing, and what's different is that we should have always been respected for the work that we do prior to the pandemic, and even more so now because of maybe reduced, restricted staffing internally at a company, or the vendors that we're dealing with, or just the time. Some might say, well, you had all this time off. You could have been creating all these crazy event ideas. For what? We're creating it specifically for you, just to sit there waiting for you to call us. You call us, we are going to act upon it, and we are going to design just for you. And the respect of our time and efforts and knowledge. We knew the vendors to call even before you called us. So when you called us, and hopefully we could speak live, that's a whole other thing. There should never just be send me a proposal without ever connecting live. We're going to innovate your live event experience. How could we not begin that experience by connecting live with you? And actually, I know a lot of people hate Zooms, hate Teams, hate WebEx, but connecting live like this, as opposed to just a conference call, I think has been a productive outcome, that we get to see each other face to face. You get to hear when someone says, what do you think of these? I'll joke and say balloons. Not that balloons are so bad, but sometimes it's like a joke in events. What do you think of the balloons? Oh, yeah, we did balloons last year, as opposed to, oh my God, we love balloons. See how the difference is when you hear it and you see it than in an email. So that then ties into the pricing, that what we have determined as DMCs is that we can keep proposing and developing your event up until the day before. But at a certain point, you either need to sign a contract or pay us a progress payment and say it's a letter of intent, a letter of engagement. I'm going to use you. We don't know if it's going to be red or blue, whatever it may be. We don't know which room of the ballroom. We don't know which venue that you've chosen. We don't know which entertainment. We are going to engage you, and we're going to pay you a progress payment for the progress that you've done and for the progress that you're going to do going forward as we confirm and make these decisions together. And there's always been discussions in our profession about, well, it's like engaging an architect. He would never do the plans and lay out your house without you paying him first.
Deposits, installment.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep. So we know we're going to do your event. We know there's going to be in a venue. There's going to be some decorative. There's going to be some entertainment, some tech, whatever the needs are. But knowing which color it is and what the menu is should not affect you paying us a progress payment for the work that we have done and going to get you here. We'll send you a proposal with some concepts. We'll tweak it a little if that didn't work. But at a certain point, we shouldn't keep just proposing. And that is what we did prior to the pandemic. We would do hundreds of pages in a deck. We literally just looked up yesterday a deck we did for 94 pages. That's why I didn't use 100 just as a round number. And we practically designed the event and handed it to them. Don't even want to get into on this conversation about the client stealing it, because we all want to think that's not going to happen. That wasn't the worry. But we did all that work without anything up front. That did they need all that to decide our company? Or why don't you decide us based on other factors, and then we create that together, and we have a common goal of servicing your event and spending more time on the event as opposed to more time on the proposing. And I came up with this quote. I said recently with one of our team with a client, we really want to do more producing than proposing. And then I've now come up with this quote. We want to do profitable producing versus possible proposing.
Wow.
You know what? I really feel strongly about
I love that.
Doesn't mean that we're never going to propose again and that we'll never want to go into a project. And we know you might be looking at more than our company. Would we all just love when the client says, I'm using you, we love you, we like you, this is what you did last time, could you do this and just book it and it's done? That's easy. And that would be great. And we could just fulfill and still be creative. However, this concept, well, we're looking at 10 different companies and we need a full proposal with every single detail and every single napkin color. There needs to be a happy medium. And that's what we need to discuss with clients. What is smart moving forward? And this is what the pandemic has taught us. And we collectively, as destination management companies, event design companies, even you as intermediaries, need to roll it back to the clients and say, we got to change it, because none of us were being well served nor being respected and paid for it.
Okay, I love that. You're absolutely right. What a great different kind of perspective to look at it that way.
But, all of us DMCs we've been meeting, and, it's not like collusion, it's not like price fixing, but it's about just don't think the company up the road, we don't say road in New York, we say street, on the next subway stop is going to just give that to you, and we're not. We want to support each other. So I have said to other DMCs in our destination, when that client calls, let's just say we all talked, and none of us are just going to do your proposal for the sake of doing your proposal. Let's figure out at what point are we engaged as opposed to just proposing. Again, producing versus possible proposing and making it profitable. And we've said to clients, we don't charge for proposals, but at a certain point, if you want us to keep calling more venues, you then have to pay us to do that sourcing. And something else that I'm proud to state is that in the past, we would talk to a client and say, okay, we'll get back to you with 10 restaurants that we think will work, or 10 venues. And we would just call those venues up, check availability, get pricing, and do this incredulous proposal. We, during the pandemic, do not check any venue, whatever it is, without showing the client even just a link, describing it, and saying, are you approving us to now get pricing and availability? Otherwise, we're all just wasting all of our time, and we have to support each other.
Yep, I agree. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for that insight and sharing your vast knowledge and experience.
Thank you. I am honored to be here. I hope that we get to do this again on another topic. I love talking about not just our industry in general and specifics, but how we could be better business people and support each other. Clients come and go, but we remain in this community together. And that's really, really important.